Revolución, a Hispanic Heritage Month 2002 virtual event. I am your host, Rafael, aka the Latin Babbler, and our guest today is celebrating BIPOC voices and books. He is the owner of the Golden Lab Bookshop located in Queens, New York, and he is also a Latinx creator on TikTok. Welcome to the show, Adrian Cepeda.
Thank you so much, Rafael. Thank you so much for having me. I love it. Thank you so much. Great intro and great music. That was
everybody likes the music. Everybody likes the music.
That's incredible.
Big shout out to Ricardo Campos, who's actually the creator of that song, Mi Banderas. You guys can check it up on YouTube and check it out on our page. He's all over the place. So very cool, very cool. You're Ecuadorian. Tell us a little bit more about your growing up experience.
I grew up in Queens, New York, born and raised. Both parents were Ecuadorian. Eating Ecuadorian food every single day. Had it last night for dinner. Constant. Just constant Ecuadorian food everywhere. I live in a very predominantly, it's the most diverse borough in all of county, in all of the United States anyway. So, but yeah, there's people all around me, people from my own country, from all over, and it's just beautiful. I just love it.
Are you like a first gen? Were you born here, or did you come from South America?
I was born here. I was born in Queens. My mom was born here in Queens, and my dad was born in Ecuador, and then he came over.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, everything's cool. New York for me.
Yeah, New York, bro. You are like New Yorker. Like there is nothing else.
It's just straight Queens every single day.
Yeah,
just moving around.
Fan because of it.
All right. Wait, I'm a Yankees fan.
Okay, there we go. No, we're good. We're good.
I switched. Yeah. Okay, good. It's perfect.
Okay, so he lost his queen card during the middle of this interview because of that.
Basically.
Aside from
I always do. That's why I'm like, I always dodge those questions. I'm like,
he's like, he lives in Queens. Like, yo, you're a Mets fan? He's like, well, what happened?
Absolutely not. They be losing. I can't do that.
Yo, but they're winning this year. This year they're doing great though. I give them props.
I know.
So now, do you
I feel like they start off strong every year. And then
they choke in the playoffs. I'm telling you, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So books, like you are huge into literature. Were you always into books growing up?
Literally my whole life. Like that's like my go-to. Like in school, in personal life, everything I did, even when I went to college, everything was always books. Like my mom used to bring me to the movie theater, and then right after we'd go to Barnes and Noble and just read. Like it'd be movies and books.
So I remember when I was growing up, we used to do like the libraries. Is that like growing up? Was that like your thing? Like did your parents take you to the library a lot?
This was the thing. The library that was in my neighborhood, which I'm back in my own neighborhood, was so bad. It was so bad that it was so messy because the kids would just leave and just wreck the place. So we would just go to Barnes and Noble because obviously it was more organized. And now the library is beautiful and like everything's organized. They have more workers in there. They're better funded. So now it's beautiful. But no, I missed out on a lot of libraries when I was growing up. It was usually just Barnes and Noble.
Do you go now for the nostalgia aspect? Tell stories to the kids. I remember when all these books were all over the place.
This was a mess. You guys don't even know how lucky you have it.
Tables? Yo, you got old man stories, man. Like you got old man stories. You got old man library stories. Like you can literally go up to a kid. It's like, no, back in my day, this was a shithole. Like you guys have no clue. There was books over there that had ketchup on it. So
you see all those lights? We didn't have those. Just straight flashlights.
Point to the librarian. She's like 150, but she's still here. That's the only constant thing that's been left over. That's crazy.
Hasn't moved, hasn't aged, just there.
She's just there. She's still the same strict person from the whole time. So now I know we're going to talk about both of these because we're talking about the bookstore and then the content creator. But what actually, like, what came first? Did the bookstore come first, or did you being a content creator come first?
Bookstore came first. The bookstore came first and came in 2019, towards the end of 2019 too. And then that started first. It was just pop-ups, no physical location. And then COVID hit. So we had to stop going out, doing the pop-ups. Then we built a physical location. And then people still weren't allowed. People were allowed, but they were a little worried about going into stores. So I didn't know how to talk to people about books. I didn't know how to spread the word. But I also didn't want it to be like business related. I wanted it to be more like me just relaying how many books we have in our culture and different cultures too. And that's how I started doing the content creation. And then that's when I saw the need for it. Mm-hmm.
Like when you went, I mean, did you go to school for like literature and, you know, or like, cause I know that a lot of people who were like authors and so forth, they do like a lot of literature degrees and English.
Yeah,
I
was an English major. The
easiest
thing I could do.
Look at, I called it right off the bat. I'm like, and I didn't even know. For those people who were like watching this interview, I had no clue what he went to school for. So I'm just like, I just know that a lot of authors that I've spoken to, they're either English majors or like communications majors or something like that.
Yeah, communications is a big one.
Communication's huge. Like a lot of authors come out with communication majors.
And it's because most of it is really like grammar, like learning how to write properly.
Yeah.
Right? But I just read. I can't. I'm not saying I can't write. My grammar's
terrible.
Like,
I can read. I can't write. But it's like,
so it was like that's funny. Oh, read books for class and get a college degree? Yeah, I'm good. That's the one I'm going for.
Yeah, it's like a twofer. It's a twofer.
Exactly.
So, content creator. What inspired you to become a content creator? Because that's not easy to do. I mean, you're constantly having to create content to try. But I mean, yours, I guess it's different because you kind of aim it towards what you're doing, which is, you know, promoting the books and stuff like that. But what got you into that? Like, what made you go, you know what, I'm going to start doing these things on TikTok and see how it goes?
So like the only thing I knew about TikTok was like people were dancing on it. I'm not a dancer. All right. It's not happening. I'm not doing the little tricks. Yeah. That's not happening. Doing the little trends. I can't do that. So then when I first
group join you and stuff,
just get in the back. We're dancing with books. I can't do it. And
the picture,
just rehearsals all day in the store. Right? So when I downloaded it, it was just people teaching. Like the first thing I got were like people teaching science, teachers just telling me something, like history lessons. So I was like, oh, people like actually just share information on this app. It's not just dancing. So I was like, all right, let me see what I can do in regards to actually showing people books like they don't know about. And the biggest thing where that came from is that when I was younger, no one told me that there were books from like our culture, right? Then I realized when I was younger, no one ever gave me information about our culture, right? Like no one ever gave me a main character that was not only Ecuadorian, but Latino, Latina, Latinx, nothing. Like it was just straight white guys doing their thing, just straight white boys doing their thing. And I was like, there has to be other books out there. And when I finally figured out like, oh, there's this whole sector of our authors that just, they don't get promoted. I was like, all right, let me just read and share everyone, because I'm sure there's people out there like me who didn't get that information and didn't go hunting for that information because it's hard to. And let me just give it to them. And it worked out. People actually felt the need for it. A lot of teachers did too. That was a bigger thing.
Yeah. And I have to ask you the question though. Why Book Papi? You know, the name comes with like, it's like, hi Papi. Like it's one of those like, why Book Papi? Like what made you go that route?
Oh my gosh. So listen, the worst part, first of all, let me just tell the story real quick. The worst part of having that name is that when people started emailing me, like actual like publishers and authors and stuff, they wouldn't know my name. So they would just say, hi, Book Papi. And I felt so bad that these professionals in their field have to start off their email greeting by writing that every day. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So what happened is like, I feel like people who look at books, especially when you're younger, is like, it's lame. You know, it's boring. It's just what you have to do, right? But like, I'm nerdy. Like you can see the background. I have comic book stuff. I'm just a nerdy guy. But like, it's not the only thing we are, right? Like I can listen to rap. I can dance. We can do all sorts of different things. Like we have different aspects to ourselves. We're not just like nerd, like the typical nerd living in a corner, just reading books all day.
Yeah, just
right. So I was like,
over there.
How can I make a name that shows that my heritage, my culture, make it somewhat cool? And then I saw like that literal day I saw like a Drake Instagram post and it said Champagne Papi, and I was like, why is your name Champagne Papi? I'm taking it. I'm just gonna put book on in front of it.
That's good though.
I was like, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always wonder why his name was Champagne Papi.
Like, yeah, it doesn't make it. He tries to be different people. He's Jamaican for a second. He did the Aventura. He did the song with Romeo Santos. So it's like he jumps. He just wants to be everything. It's cool.
He just wants to be everything. Drake, if you're listening to it, stop being everything. Just stop being everything.
Thank you for the name, though. Thanks for the name, inspo.
Yeah, right. The name inspiration. I was curious because I'm just like I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, that's a very unique name for a for like a bookstore owner, somebody who's sharing books.
I know.
Book Papi, it's like somebody who should be doing like TikToks for like, you know, womenizing and all kinds of stuff. Go to his damn TikTok. He's like, and this book brought to you today. And you're like, oh shit.
You know how
I'm like, that's
just
crazy.
have a deep voice, just being like, hey.
Yeah, he's like, hey. Yeah, I don't have his voice. You guys should see him on TikTok. It's insane. Right? So I know that you were talking about like the content and stuff. The bookstore is truly an important need in our community. I mean, can you tell us more why you created, you know, why the Golden Lab books? Why was it so important to create a bookstore in Queens?
Well, first it was my neighborhood, and so at one point we only had one store, like literally just one bookstore in the whole borough. And I don't know if I think we're either the second or third biggest borough in New York. I don't remember, but that's crazy. Like, it's a wasteland of books. Brooklyn has so many, and they have so many beautiful bookstores too. So we had two, and then they're so general. So I wanted to make a very specific bookstore. Like, if you want to come shop here, you know what you're getting. You're not going to get the bestsellers. You're not going to get all that. You're going to get very specific books. So the shelves are laid out like that. So it's BIPOC books, right? So we have Black authors, we have Latinx authors, we have API authors, MENA authors. So we have authors separated by that. And to me, that was like from the get, that was the most important thing, because I wanted to make sure people can come in with their children or themselves, find a book from their culture, and feel like, oh, we do have books, we are in books, our stories are being told by our people, not by anybody else. So that was like the most important thing for me.
Is it resonating? Like, has the community like jumped on and supported that? And
yeah,
how inspiring was that for them to kind of like jump on that?
The most beautiful thing, honestly, is like when parents come in with their kids and they're like, whoa, this girl is like from Colombia and she's going on an adventure to Colombia. My kid's Colombian. This is beautiful. Is there another book? And I go, yeah, we have more books from that. And I could show them that. And it did resonate so well, because in the beginning, when I first started, I had all these shelves, but I also had like the typical like white authors, right? And it's not like to downplay them, but they do have a lot of different stores where they can get their books from. Like, I'm not saying they're bad books. I just don't need to carry them. You can go anywhere for those books. But I used to have those, and then they just stopped selling. And all my other BIPOC books started selling, because people realized, like, okay, if I'm going to find a new book from my culture, I can just go to this store. So at that point, I just wiped off that shelf, took that shelf space off, and just put more BIPOC books from the cultures. So yeah, and I could just see it, like, just from the business angle, how it resonated with people, because people just stopped coming in for those books. They're just like, we don't need those books. We're not ordering those books from you.
Yeah. Such a cool. And you're having a discussion of that. Ironically, the next question is concerning that field. So obviously this discussion is being taken place during Hispanic Heritage Month. I was doing some research when I was trying to get ready for this, and I got shocked by the number. So, and I had spoken, like, we've had Brenda Pena, we've had Yasmin Ramirez, and we've had quite a few people that represent this specific genre of books and our Latinidad. So, I mean, it says books from the Latino Hispanic community make up only 6% of published books. 6%. Well, this is worldwide, but I'm not talking about like United States people. I'm talking about, this is a worldwide statistics. You were talking about how, when you started the bookstore, you had, books from whites and different ones. And look, I can completely get what you're saying, because it just, they can go to Barnes and Nobles for this, like, right. Or they can go just to like any store and get these books. What's your take, like, on that number though? 6% worldwide.
Oh, it's terrible. That's when I read that statistic before I even opened the store, it like hurt me. It literally hurt me. Like, wow, I couldn't believe it, because no one gives you those numbers, right? And I'm just like, we have so many countries. Like, we're so different. Like, just in South America alone, in Central America, in the Caribbean, everybody has their own set of stories, their myths, and none of them are being told. You're telling me that our country doesn't produce writers? Come on.
Like,
all our uncles have different stories. So come on. When they drink one Corona, and that's it. We had like 1,000 stories right off that.
I mean, I got a different story for every moment I had yesterday, so I'm pretty sure I could, it's crazy.
Right there, knock it out. Yeah, and it's just, and the reason for that is, on the business side, is that when you don't promote those books don't get bought. It's just like a TV show, right? If no one promotes the show, you don't watch the show, it gets canceled. So then they just stop publishing. those authors, or they don't publish as much because they don't think people are gonna sell it,
I don't
right?
think people are going to sell it, yeah.
And buy it, and then so by literally taking up the space and just having that space in my bookshelf, all those books bought are just more books telling publishers people are reading it, people are doing this, all this promoting on TikTok, even the content creation where people like, save, share, all that drums. Even if you don't buy it from me, you buy it from your local bookstore or anywhere, that goes to the author, and it tells people that, oh, we do need these books, we do want these books, we want to read these books, and they'll tell publishers to actually publish them.
Yeah, I've read
it's just
authors,
devastating.
Yeah, I mean, authors are constantly commenting how they feel like the doors have like publishers have closed the doors on them, as in like from concepts and things that they don't think will sell, which is kind of dumb because it's the same concept that you see on Netflix and Hulu and all these other things you were talking about, media. And you see where things like shows are being put on these platforms. And I think what was the show that just recently was on there? Latino show was
Gordita Chronicles.
Gordita Chronicles. That's one of them.
Yeah,
goes through one season. It was received very well by the Latino community. People loved it, but for whatever reason, they decided that was not worth bringing the second time around. And the same thing with Promised Land. Promised Land was another one that was taken out of, I think it was CBS or something like that, or ABC. I can't remember which major. And then
we just had the Batgirl Latina get canceled too.
Yeah, that was.
Although
with that said, I think the reason for that was that movie was a mess. Supposedly, I heard that the filming of that, the way it was cut up, the way it was put together, just wasn't presentable. And they do, and I feel bad for the actors because I can imagine you go through this entire
thing,
like you go through this this entire thing. You're literally waiting for that moment, and then some producer or something is just like, yeah, this doesn't look good. And so all of that work is just completely. Now, mind you, I'm not gonna sit there and say anything because I just saw what is it? Moon
Knight?
Not Moon Knight. Moon Knight was okay, but I just saw it's that movie with Halle Berry, Moonfall, I think is what it was called.
Yeah, I remember that. I hadn't seen it yet.
So as much as I like diversity, that movie was trash. And if that movie can get out, even on Netflix or whatever the hell it's on, I think it's on HBO Max. There's no reason we couldn't put our Latina out there.
That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be the first time DC even put out a bad movie. I mean, come on.
Hey, we
had Suicide Squad, the first one, and it was
and you know what? We had Justice League before the whatchamacallit cuts. So yeah, I don't know. Look, it just makes no sense for going back to the original topic. Now that we got out of media, these authors feeling like they're just not being given the opportunities to tell their story. Like publishers are literally turning down these stories, thinking that they're not valid. Like it won't sell.
It won't sell. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that they don't sell.
19% of the United States. So just here in the United States, we're 19%. And if that number is worldwide, that means that it's less here in the US. So
yeah,
how is that even possible?
And it's just it's such a ridiculous cycle because if you don't promote it right and you don't give the money towards it, like you give a white author, then of course people won't buy the book because they don't know the book came out. So you have to. It's a weird cycle. They don't know it's going to be out, so they don't buy it. But they correlated they don't want to buy a Latino written book. But it's not that. It's just that you need to put all the resources that you usually put into books into promoting those books. The thing with Gordita Chronicles, a big part of it is when they do publish books, they love pop, and it's not only in our community. It's all BIPOC community. They love promoting. They don't love promoting the joy, right? Latina joy.
Yeah, it's got to be a horror story,
or trauma story,
some type of trauma story. Yeah, it's got to be somebody who overcame drugs or alcohol or some type of neighborhood that
turned their life around.
Yeah, one of those.
Right? Remember?
It's Eduardo. You should have seen him. He was a gangbanger 2 days ago, and now he's bagging groceries, and then he turned into the CEO of Quantica Enterprises, and you're like, what in the world is that?
And all because he met Tom Johnson on the baseball field.
Yeah, Tom
That's
Johnson.
usually how it goes. Help
some
them out.
some Caucasian community builder that was the only person who was able to do it in our comunidad. There was no Latinos who could build these kids up. It took this one guy. I mean, it's always the same concept. Like I don't understand why that's the case. And it's funny because so in the New York Times they had an article that was like for young Latino readers, the image is missing, I think is what it was called. And it highlighted the fact that kids from our communities, didn't see themselves as leads in books, like the ones that they were buying, the ones that were being offered. So you would have things like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and that would be the book that they resonated with because it was like, their school experience, but it wasn't technically their Latino experience. You know what I'm saying? It was like exactly some Caucasian kids version of what they were going through. And look, we're not anti anything. We're just making a fact from what we're doing. Yeah, that's
it's always like a slippery slope.
Because, everybody's looking at us like, these racists. No, it has nothing to do with that. We are promoting our culture. Damn it, that's why we're here. Magic Treehouse series, another one.
Which I read all these
put
books.
Out there. Yeah, I mean, all Goosebumps. I mean, there's like a bunch of these books out there that a lot of the kids grew up, and they don't see themselves in any of these books.
Not at all. Like, so a big one, I think one of the biggest videos I've made was one where I said, Percy Jackson, if you like Percy Jackson, but you want to read it like with a Latino lead, read these books. And that's like the biggest one I got, because like a lot of us grew up reading Percy Jackson and read those fantasy books, but we don't have Latino fantasy books, but there are them. And that's like one of my biggest videos. And it just showed me like, okay, it's because parents don't know what to get their kids. They don't want their kids to only read Greek mythologies when we have other mythologies out there. And even with the new Disney announcements, like they made a movie from a book called American Born Chinese. And it looks great, but I don't see a lot of people talking about it, even though it was an Asian American graphic novel. But everyone's going crazy about Percy Jackson, right? It's like this little, but they did make a movie.
We're going to have books even during this series that are going to be coming out. Like during this 30 days event, we'll be speaking to some authors who are currently in development. Like some of them are going to be, coming
making
out.
Movies,
Yeah. And I'm curious to see how the push on these, specific books are going to, or how the publishers are going to use these books to try to elevate the Latino community, because I think it's so important that you don't just put the book out there and you get the money. I mean, obviously you don't make money if you don't promote the book. So I don't understand how you don't have these Latinos going on world tours and all kinds of stuff to try to, set it up. I mean, if you believe in the book enough to publish it, you should be believing enough to promote it, not just have it sitting on the shelf.
The worst thing is when they have, again, slippery slope, but it's like when they have a white author make a Latino character. And like it literally just happens. Like
that happens a lot. That's not a slippery slope. Yeah. That's something that's huge. That's taking place, in a lot of the time. And there's movies like that. You have, you have white directors, white creators creating content for the Latino
and these
community.
Stories.
You have media companies that are like that too.
It's just terrible. But that's a big reason why I do what I do.
For the people who were listening, the cough was definitely intentional. So, concerning, because I want to kind of get some ideas or give these people some ideas. I want to get, what are 5 books that you recommend and why? Okay.
We'll go with a classic. First one off the bat, which is my favorite, 100 Years of Solitude from Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's magical realism. It's pure fiction. And the reason why I love it and it's such an important book is because it shows you the capabilities, I think, of our entire community, of every Latino, Latina writer to write and like those stories, because the way it brings you, the whimsical nature of that book is ridiculous. The way he writes, everything about it. And some parts are a little outdated just because it was from back in the day. Yeah. But it was such a good book. And they haven't made it into a movie or TV show. I know they're working on it. I think they're working on a TV show on it. So hopefully do it good. But yeah, that is one of my favorite books. It'll spark your imagination if you feel like you've been on a writer's block or whatever you've been going through, like you want to like escape the world. That is a beautiful book to do it. One that came out this year I highly recommend is You Sound Like a White Girl by Julissa RC.
I saw you promote that. I saw that on your I think on your Instagram is where I saw that.
Yeah, that book is so good. It came out this year. I think it came out this year, 2022. Wow, that book was incredible because it gives you exactly how the Latina community get treated in the United States all this time. And she's Mexican, so it comes from like her coming in, her being undocumented, and her being all these things. And it was just an incredible thing to read because there's her personal story, so we actually get it from the first person. But on top of that, the best part of the book and why I recommend it to everybody, and I've recommended it a lot for book clubs who've been asking me how to diversify their book club for this month, and I've promoted her book insanely. It's because she has footnotes in the book, and the footnotes bring you to like actual historical documents, actual things in history that back it up.
Oh,
because
wow.
that's another
Very
big
cool.
thing. Yeah, so it's like you're reading the book and then it has like a footnote. You can go
Like
find that footnote
reference.
and you can read more. Yeah, and I love that. That was like the best part of that book. Yeah, I love the footnotes because it especially if you've never read any books with Latina history, it gets you there. Like it'll start that for you, and then you can go into other books. Like it's a great starter pack for that. Another one's Open Veins in Latin America. This one's a dry nonfiction book, but it's literally just our history, similar to what I think it's called Latinos in the United States. Basically just how our growth is. Those are two nonfiction books, and it really shows you the history. So those two books really show you the history, and I always recommend those books.
Okay, what was the name of that one again?
Open Veins in Latin America.
Open Veins, okay.
Open Veins, and it's in English and in Spanish, which is fantastic for everybody to read. And the other one, I believe it's Latinos Heritage in America. I don't remember the author, but it's similar to that one, but just really our distinct nature in the United States and our history. So those are dry reads, but those are really good.
Very cool.
And
very cool.
And the last one for the kids, Charlie Hernandez. That series, it's a series. It's called Charlie Hernandez, a series. It's just 3. I think the third one's coming out soon. That one is the one for anyone who reads fiction, YA, like Percy Jackson, Harry Potter. That one's for us. That one's beautiful book.
Man, that's really cool. Yeah, he had no idea, by the way, that I was going to ask him to do this. So the fact that he was able to do that on the fly just goes to show that he knows what the hell he's talking about. So, make sure. Look, if you guys are in Queens, you guys got to go and go to the store and visit. How does the store set up? Like, is it like a storefront, so to speak, where like how does that work?
Yeah. So the funny thing about that question though is that when I started this shop and even doing the TikToks, when people ask you like in person, like, oh my God, hey, what's your favorite book? Give me a rec right now. The nerves that get me, I'm like, it's like I forgot I know how to read.
Anxiety. You're like, You're like,
I don't know anymore. But I've gotten that question so much now that's why I'm able to like drop it like in a hat. Like here, it's this one, it's this one, it's this one, this one. But yeah, so the store actually, so like the whole wall is just books, right? It's just my books, it's just shelves. And then because also on top of books, I want to support artists. Like that's a big thing. Latinx artists.
Yeah.
There's this little section that has just art from Latinx, and that's local, non-local, cool. All sorts of things. Yeah, and I do these mystery boxes where I combine the two. So the person learns a new book, and you get a new Latinx artist. Yeah, so a big part of the things that I follow on TikTok are from that. So I follow a lot of people like that. And then you get small businesses around the store from the community. So they're all small businesses, a lot of them women owned, all of them BIPOC owned. And then we have some like young entrepreneurs, like they make bracelets and stuff. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's how it is. So it's all small BIPOC businesses all in one store. And
that is really cool. It's like an all-in-one shop.
Basically, and it's because bookstores, the margins are real low, right? So you can't really flip that. So I had to find a way to like not only support books, but also support other people. And that's like the best way to do it.
Yeah. Man, Adrian, all right, man. Look, this has been a true blessing to be able to talk to you, man. It's a true, genuine discussion about, just even literature in general and how it how it affects our community. Because I mean, you go to the store here, you're not going to find a ton of books unless you go to the specialty section, and I'm a big Barnes and Noble's fan. Like, don't get me wrong,
Same.
I go
That's how
there
I grew up.
and I get whatever books I need for the items that I'm looking for, but it's just, it would be great if we weren't compartmentalized in the back row of like Section C under
right
the cultural division or whatever the hell
international.
Yeah, we're like in the international section of the books of Barnes and Nobles, and like floor number 3 where they have the the book tabs and stuff like that. So yeah,
the same bookmarks from the 90s.
The same bookmarks from exactly. So but no, this was a great discussion. If people wanted to follow you, like your TikTok and then the bookstore, where would they go?
TikTok is Book Papi, just like we discussed. The store is Golden Lab Bookshop. You see, I know I can't help but laugh every time I say it. Or when someone called me the name in Comic-Con last year, floor full of people, and they yelled it out. And
that
I was like,
is funny.
Well, I'm in full Loki costume. I'm like, no.
Like,
how'd you recognize me?
And everybody was like,
like, what did she just say? Yeah.
You should just go as one giant ass book the next time.
I should. You know what?
Giant
walking advertisement.
Latino book. Just walk out and then just walk in, big square book.
You know what? That's a good idea. I'm gonna do that for content. You're right. Thank you. Thank you. I'm stealing that.
Hey, you're gonna make you're gonna get a ton of followers for that.
That's a big ass book over there.
That's a big ass book. Sorry, I interrupted that whole process, but hey, if they wanted to follow you, where would they go?
Book Papi on TikTok. Golden Lab Bookshop on Instagram. And yeah. Oh, and I'm gonna drop it the first day of Latina, Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm gonna do a podcast where I do daily book recs for our people, for our culture. I'm gonna interview authors, and things like that. And I'm gonna interview TikTokers, their favorite books, see what they have in different.
Really cool though.
Yeah, that's what I've been working on. I'm excited to share with everybody. Just daily book recs, and they're more in depth because the TikTok you can't really do that long, or they won't share with anybody.
Yeah,
but these are gonna be more in depth. They're gonna be more in depth, like 8 minutes, 10 minutes long.
60 seconds. 60 seconds.
You get 60 seconds, and they have a 10-minute video. I'm like, who's gonna sit on their phone for 10 minutes to watch a video? No one's. Not like that.
Long form content. Send that shit to YouTube. Ain't nobody gonna watch that on TikTok.
That's what
you don't got me in the first 20 seconds on TikTok. I'm done. Like that's what I go to the platform for.
Up. Yeah.
It's
that hook. You need that hook there. Short attention spans. That's why it was good for me.
All right, Adrian. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for this
special interview. So amazing to be able to get to know you, and hopefully we'll be able to have these conversations some more as the event goes through. We'll definitely be collaborating in the future to try and see how we can promote, literature and the Latinidad. I think it's very important. Something that's kind of dear to my heart as far as like what we've been trying to do here at Wafa Media.
Thank you so much for everything you do, not only for me, but for all the people that you're interviewing. It's just great. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you for watching this special interview with Book Papi, Adrian Cepeda, part of our Revolución Hispanic Heritage Virtual Month, brought to you by Todo Wafi and Celso. You guys got to try these drinks. They're absolutely amazing. Be sure to follow us on social media platforms at Todo Wafi and be a part of the 30-day celebration of representation. You can catch the entire schedule at todowafi.com. And I'm Rafael. That's Adrian. We are out.
Desde Nicaragua hasta Costa Rica, con esta canción todo mundo se identifica. Llamen a los chilenos y a los cubanos, llamen a Puerto Rico y a los mexicanos, que ya se armó la rumba. Desde Panamá hasta Ecuador, vámonos a Perú y luego hasta Salvador. Que se escuche Brasil y Argentina. Yo quiero un grito de mi gente latina y levantaré mi bandera, estando en mi país o estando allá afuera, porque para mí, mira, no existen fronteras.